All right, so when you think about what makes a car awesome, what comes to mind? Probably horsepower, right? Torque, 0 to 60 times. But what if I told you the real hero, the system that actually makes all that power usable and, keeps you from flying off the road, is something we barely even talk about? Today, we are pulling back the curtain on the unsung hero of your drive, the automotive suspension system. So here's our roadmap. We're going to start with why suspension is so critical. Then we'll meet the key components doing all the work. We'll get into the two major design philosophies, see why one of them pretty much took over, peek at some cool advanced tech, and then we'll wrap it all up. Let's kick things off with the absolute fundamental problem that every single car designer has to solve. And it's not just about going fast, it's about staying in control while you're going fast. And this quote, man, it just says it all, doesn't it? You can have 1,000 horsepower, but if your tires aren't making solid, consistent contact with the pavement, it means nothing. Absolutely nothing. Control is the whole game. So that brings up a really important question. We know it's the tires touching the road, but what's the system in charge of managing that connection? What's dealing with every single bump, crack, and curve in the road? Well, you guessed it, it's the suspension. And every suspension system, it doesn't matter if it's super simple or incredibly complex, it really has three main jobs. First, and the one we all notice, is absorbing shocks for a comfortable ride. Second, and this is huge for performance, is working nonstop to keep those tires glued to the road for maximum control. And third, it keeps the car stable and balanced, which is just absolutely critical for safety.
Okay, so to understand how it pulls all this off, we need to meet the two key players, the dynamic duo at the heart of literally any suspension system.
See, it all comes down to this incredible partnership. You've got the springs, and that could be a coil spring, a leaf spring, whatever. Their job is to take the hit from a bump and store its energy. But, and this is key, without the damper, or what we all call a shock absorber, that spring would just keep bouncing and bouncing forever, like a pogo stick. The damper's job is to control that bounce, turning the spring's energy into heat and getting the car settled down again. And this is that beautiful little dance in action. Bam, the wheel hits a bump. The spring immediately squishes down, taking the hit. Then, as that spring tries to expand back out, the damper steps in and resists that motion, smoothing it all out and bringing everything back to neutral. It's just this constant, perfectly timed partnership. So now that we know who the players are, we can look at the two fundamentally different ways you can arrange them. And this, right here, is the great divide in suspension design. Now, this slide is probably the most important one to really get. The core difference is actually super simple. On the left, you've got a non-independent system. Think of it like a solid bar connecting the two wheels. What happens to one wheel directly messes with the other. But on the right, with an independent system, each wheel is on its own, free to react to the road without affecting its partner on the other side. So that non-independent system, it's the old school workhorse. Its whole philosophy is about being simple, being tough, and being awesome at handling really heavy loads. That's exactly why you still find it on the back of most trucks and heavy-duty vehicles today. It's just built to last. But for the cars most of us are driving every day, designers pretty much all went down the other path. So let's take a look at why this independent approach just makes for a way better driving experience for most people. Yeah, the advantages are pretty clear. When you let each wheel react on its own, you just get a much, much smoother ride. It gives you better steering and handling because a pothole on the right side doesn't throw the left wheel off its game. And it gives you way better grip, especially when the road gets rough or uneven.
And even within the independent world, there are a few common flavors. The McPherson strut is everywhere because it's simple, it's compact, it's cheap, perfect for most normal passenger cars. For cars that are a bit more sporty, you'll start to see double wishbone setups. They offer fantastic control over the tire's angle, which is huge for stability when you're cornering hard. And then at the really high end, you get these complex multi-link systems that give engineers the ultimate freedom to dial in the perfect mix of comfort and grip. Of course, engineers never, ever stand still. The basic ideas are the same, but the technology has evolved in some seriously cool ways.
So for instance, you have air suspension. It basically swaps out the steel spring for an adjustable airbag. This means the car can literally change its ride height and stiffness on the fly, lower down for aerodynamics on the highway, or raise up for more clearance, all while being incredibly comfortable. And then you have stuff like hydroelastic systems, which are a bit more rare but totally genius. They connect the front and rear wheels with fluid, so when a front wheel hits a bump, it actually preps the rear of the car to react, keeping the whole vehicle amazingly level.
So let's bring this all back home. Back to what really matters, your connection to the road.
At the end of the day, your car's suspension is so much more than just a bunch of springs to make the ride less bumpy. It is the complex, dynamic system that turns raw power into controlled motion. It's the foundation of your car's safety, its performance, and honestly, your confidence as a driver.
So the next time you get behind the wheel, try this. When you take a corner or glide over a bump, just pay attention for a second. Think about those springs and dampers working together, about the wheels moving independently to keep you in control. What story is your suspension telling you about the road and about all the incredible engineering that's making your journey possible?